All right, Shalom. I'll start by giving all praise and glory unto you. How about Shema Shabbat Shem Hakodash? Double honor to the apostle, that is a great meal. Shalom, pushing the word of sincerity and the truth. I just want to do a quick lesson on this article on the endoftheamericandream.com. And so pertaining to these trucks, entertaining the notion, which this is truly enlightenment, because it's, us brothers that push the word of Yahweh Shema Shah, we already know what these last days are going to entail. And one of these things is a famine. And what leads to a famine is lack of substance being brought to your local cities, man. Counties, what have you, And it says if the trucks stop running, it won't just be a gasoline shortage that we're facing. So that's basically leaning towards what? A food shortage. It says, our enemies now understand that you can completely paralyze America by taking out just a handful of pipelines, right? And it's going to go into the colonial pipeline. It's a few other pipelines. But they said, the hackers, invaded. And I was looking into it. They were saying that they paid these hackers like $5 million to, get their hands off, so to speak. I don't know how true that is, but that's being allegedly. But it says, even though all of us knew that any gasoline shortages were just going to be temporary, the shutdown of the colonial pipeline caused a frenzied wave of panic buying all along the East Coast. Right. And that was part of the contribution of why it was so detrimental, is because any little thing that Americans see takes place, they do just that, panic buy. They go on a fucking tirade, and they fill up, they overdo themselves, get over excessive. And see, everybody's already on edge, man. We're in the midst of a global pandemic. You see these different nations, not knowing what tomorrow may bring, shortages of food supply, shortages of all these different things. The economy is topsy-turvy in a lot of these different areas. So when they see something like this take place, we see it actually, here in Georgia. I was discussing stuff with brothers in Florida and stuff like that, North Carolina. These different areas are being hit, pretty tough. And we've seen individuals pull up in trucks, with barrels of shit, barrels of empty jugs in the back of the truck, just filling up to the T. You see? So that's part of that panic buying. But it says, but if something caused the gasoline to stop flowing for a longer period of time, not being able to fill up our vehicles would be among the least of our problems. Trucks need gasoline too, and if our trucks stop running for an extended period, it would virtually paralyze every part of our society. Right. So trucks are the driving force of America, pushing cargo state to state. With lack of fuel, diesel fuel and things of that nature, that puts a crippling, or like it's using the term paralyzing effect on the economies, because everything is already, still in high demand, but if people demand it and the supply is low, and then you have a conflict of interest. And we already know that it's written, that there's going to be a famine, with a substance that you're used to, like now you go to Walmart, you go to your Best Buy, you go to your, Targets, if they still even, have a lot of those around, whatnot. But they you go to those and you can buy your PS5, or you could go buy you some dairy items and produce, poultry, what have you, so you think everything is just, on the up and up, which technically it is. The scripture speak about victuals being so good cheap. We're in a time where victuals are being so good cheap, but guess what? The market is spiking, and things are going to keep spiking to the point it spikes and spirals out of control. Gasoline has been on a steady incline, and you had certain people trying to demand that that they since there's been this little crisis going on, for them to actually tap into the winter gas, rather than the summer gas, because you have transitionary gases, and I looks into that. You have summer gas and you got winter gas. So they're looking to actually tap into the reserves, to try to work this out. And Esau can't keep tapping into these reserves, man. He's gonna get to tap into the point he tapped out, and when he's tapped out, it's gonna be, every man, every man and every woman for himself. And we all know who to trust in, and that is Yahweh Shem Shah. Now, if I'm gonna read a little bit more, it said prior to this month, most Americans couldn't have even imagined a scenario in which all of our trucks suddenly stopped running. But the cyber attack against the Colonial Pipeline has exposed how deeply vulnerable our most sensitive infrastructure really is. According to the American Petroleum Institute, there are more than 190,000 miles of pipelines that carry liquid petroleum in the U.S. Yeah, so it's a lot of miles that, these pipelines actually help to carry this petroleum substance. And that's even the driving force of even the American standard. The American financial currency is backed by petroleum, OPEC. So when Esau loses his resources, and loses his grips to get this, substance from one person to the next, or even get the substance, period, for just his personal benefit and gain. When he loses that, that's when he loses his power. That's why these different nations are seeing that Esau is starting to become as weak as them. This America's starting to turn to is going through the same crisis as a third world country. We already seen the crisis in Flint, where certain places where the drinking water, the water is not even good for consumption. So everything is starting to get jacked up in this society, and that's biblical prophecy. We'll get that in Isaiah 14:4. That thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how hath the oppressor ceased, the golden city ceased? The Lord hath broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. Right. So that's the stick of balance. Esau had the scepter in his hand, and the scepter was a scepter of judgment. And the Lord is snapping that stability and that strength, of Egypt, like he did in the ancient world. Before Egypt collapsed, you started to see that they started to have a gradual fall-offs and die-outs. Their agriculture started to get hit hard. The different markets, so to speak, that they would sustain with started to crumble right before their eyes, to the point where Pharaoh told the Israelites to leave. At first, Moses had to keep strongly requesting for his people to get, released. But what Pharaoh denied every second of the way, until he got bombarded with so many plagues that he didn't have no choice but to let the Israelites down, let the Israelites go. Because if he would have kept them in his hand, more plagues would have came. All right. So it said, and what does the scriptures even say in Second Ezra? How the Lord is going to destroy this new Egypt like old Egypt. The whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing. All right, so that's talking about really when Esau falls. All right, and we're starting to we're rejoicing in the midst. We seeing everything that's going on, and this type of stuff ain't really we don't get jacked up in the spirit. As a matter of fact, yeah, that's in the same chapter. Jacked up in the spirit over this type of shit, man. Not having enough fuel for our vehicles and things of that nature. Hell, we want this society, part of us, doing this work. Or the main part of us doing this work, of course, is for deliverance and, praying upon destruction, man. And destruction of what? America, Babylon the Great. Isaiah 14:11. I start at 10. All they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vows. The worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee. Right, so the worm represents what? Corrosion in the market. See, we see it with the infrastructure, but Esau's starting to really, show that his technology and everything that he has is still outdated, man. It's nothing for these hackers to log in. Hell, we just seen a thing in Texas with their grid
Texas has that personalized grid that's basically outsourced from, the United States. So when that weather surge basically took place, Texas couldn't endure, you know, and that's one of many plagues. All right, same thing with this pestilence that took place, the vid, and they already had simulations such as Operation Dark Winter to put into effect if a crisis like this would happen. How would America do? And they've calculated America is going to do effing horrible. Bill Gates even did the same thing, on his TED Talks. He was speaking about when a crisis were to take place, and the Lord has way more plagues to come. So this was just something short and sweet. I wanted to really go into this trucking. More prophecy. Scripture says, "Watch as well as pray." So we watch, all these things, and we, put it out on the tube. All right. So I want to end by giving all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Shema Shai by Shema Kakodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom, Maki.